Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and as you know, I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So this is just a quick video that I wanted to put together to share my thoughts on what's going on with this passport bro by the name of Auston Holleman. I've been doing a number of videos as of late on my channel just talking about the environment in Brazil. When I first discovered this whole thing about passport bros, mostly black men traveling to Brazil in pursuit of, let's be real, some of them are in pursuit of long-term relationships with Brazilian women. Some of them are just down there seeking sexual adventure. I mean, let's just be real. From everything that I've seen, the comments that I've read, the videos that I've heard, you just get the distinct feeling that some of them, the difficulty is that you can't tell who's there for what. The problem for me is that you can't just stereotype all Black American men as going to Brazil only interested in sexual tourism, even though I'm acknowledging that does exist. There are, I've known personally myself a number of Black Brazilian men who are actually married to Brazilian women. So we can't castigate all Black American men as being on sexual tourism, even though that element definitely does exist. There's been a couple of academic articles that's actually come out talking about Black American sex tourism in Brazil. It does exist. It's not to say that all passport bros are into sexual tourism. Now, I started making a few videos just approaching this whole topic. The topic of relationships. I made a video recently about the difficulty Black Brazilian women have in securing long-term relationships and why that is. I've made videos about why a lot of Brazilian women ask the question, why does the Brazilian woman have a certain image to gringos or foreign men? I've talked about the fact that along with the rise of Black identity politics in Brazil, you also have the rise of Black feminism. So all of these things are going on at the same time. And I just felt all this time that particularly passport bros were making such a simplistic representation of what they thought of Brazilian women. And I've known a number of Brazilian women over the years who have written their thoughts about how they feel when people stereotype them simply because you put the two words Brazilian and woman together. There's a couple articles I have on my blog that, people have talked about their experiences dealing with African Americans. The image they get, the looks they get when people find out they're Brazilian. And so when I saw Auston Holleman start to make a bunch of these type of videos coming from Brazil, I've said this to a number of my colleagues. I never directly talked about this online, even though recently I saw that O'Shea Duke Jackson, he sampled a bit of my video in his video, in which he also he sampled a bit of another Auston Holleman video. So both of us were sampled into an O'Shea Duke Jackson video about it. And this is what I've said all along. I'm feeling like, I lived in Brazil for 9 years. I've been traveling back and forth to Brazil for 23 years since September of 2000. Met a lot of people, males and females. It was never my intention to come down there on sexual tourism. I have never participated in sexual tourism, but I got to see all types of people. You can't just stereotype a whole country of women based on the activities of some. Now, let's be clear. There is an element of Brazilian women that freely participates in sexual tourism. I've seen just countless videos. I'm not going to say where I find these videos. Well, I can just say they're on social media, social networks. If you look hard enough, you'll find plenty of Brazilian women who are promoting themselves as being sexually available. The problem that I have with a lot of the passport bros is that it doesn't seem like they really understand the environment in Brazil today. They don't really understand. I don't think they really understand Brazilian women. I think they're basing what they think they know off a lot of stereotypes. as I said this in one of my previous videos, like, there are a lot of Brazilian women that are pursuing education. There are a lot of them, a lot more that have access to college education these days. A lot of women are very successful. But then you have women who are trying to get by any means necessary. The question is, which one of these images wins out when we're talking about Brazilian women in general? And this is why I had a problem with Passport Bros making these type of videos about maybe their few travels to Brazil. Many of us who have lived in Brazil or spent extended periods of time in Brazil looked and we came to the conclusion that a lot of these guys were talking about their experiences based on their visits to Brazil. They go stay a couple of weeks or a month or 2 months, go back to the US, and that's it. I could be wrong. I can't speak for everybody, but I'm just saying the comments that I was getting, the comments that they were making in the video, that's the conclusion that I came to. I had one of my friends down in Minas Gerais, and I'm going to interview him one of these days. After he saw a video with 2 Black American men discussing Brazil, he called me up like fuming. He was like, "Mark, we have to record a video. These Black American men don't understand ish about Brazilian women. You, a Black American who lived here, you need to go online and talk about what Brazilian women are really like, because these Passport Bros don't get it." So to be honest with you, I have problems with all sides in this whole debacle. Now, if you haven't heard, I woke up this morning and one of my friends sent me just a bunch of videos, a bunch of text messages, a bunch of screenshots on what was going on with this guy, Auston Holleman. And apparently what has happened, this whole thing was actually covered on the Mundo Negro website. Mundo Negro is one of the top Black Brazil media websites. And it's a story that's covered there. It's covered in their Instagram page. And I saw the cover picture showed a picture of a woman named Stephanie Ribeiro. Stephanie Ribeiro is a well-known Black feminist in Brazil. I remember, she really started blowing up on the internet maybe around 2012, 13, 14, somewhere in there. I remember I saw her when she participated in this debate about blackface in Brazil. It was in this auditorium. I think it was the Itaú Cultural Center on Avenida Paulista. Might have been 2014 or 2015. And she just blew up after that. They had a picture of Stephanie next to Auston Holleman. And from what I've seen, man, it was just really ugly. A lot of Brazilian women were taking Auston Holleman's videos and making a case that he's participating in sexual tourism. I don't know Auston Holleman. I've only watched maybe a few bits and pieces of some of his videos, so I can't say what he's really doing. I can't make any accusations because I don't know what he's doing. I know that of the videos that I have seen, he's made it clear that he's getting to know a lot of Brazilian women. I don't know if that means he's sleeping with all of them. He's just interviewing them. But from the time I started seeing some of his videos, I was like, regardless of whether he's there on sexual tourism or not, it's not a good look. Some of the things that he was doing was what I was talking about when I says I get the feeling that a lot of African-American men don't really understand the situation there. Now, why I say that I have a problem with the whole situation all the way around is that I see right and wrong in every group here. On the one hand, let's break them down. You got African-American men who are going to Brazil truly in pursuit of finding the right woman to have a long-term relationship. I know this for a fact. I know men who have married Brazilian women. There are also African-American men who are clearly there on sexual tourism. That cannot be denied either. We just can't generalize to say, well, how many Black men down there are on sexual tourism and how many are truly looking for a woman after being frustrated for years in their relationships with, American women, particularly African-American women. It's hard to say. The other side that I have a problem with is we know that from the beginning of Passport Bros, African-American women have been throwing out mad shade at Passport Bros. In some of the videos that I watched, some of the things that they were saying may have been true. There are other things that are not true. Like when you make the accusation that Black men are in Brazil, Black American men are in Brazil exploiting underage girls. I see no evidence for that. I don't know. I spoke about this in one of my videos. I don't see any evidence for that. Generally, when I come across pedophilia and sexual tourism or just sex with underage girls in Brazil, it's generally what I see European men doing that. I haven't seen any evidence of African American men doing that. If somebody can prove that, I'd like to know. Otherwise, you're just throwing out, baseless rumors. The other thing I had a problem with African American women is that you have this idea that, okay, you're just going to go down to Brazil and exploit these women who can't fight back, who are poor, who don't have nothing. They're not willing to stand up against you. They're easy pushovers. And I'm like, that's wrong too. As I've said, what evidence do you have of that? And what I've seen in modern day Brazilian women, you got that all wrong. I don't see anything about Brazilian women being pushovers. Matter of fact, the guy who I'm telling you about in Minas Gerais, when he saw that interview between those two passport bros in a video, he was like, Mark, Black American men do not understand women. He says, Brazilian women are mandonas, which means they're bossy. He says Brazilian women are often the ones running the household. They're often the ones who are, they pay the bills, they control the money. So then where are you getting the idea that these women are pushovers? Even if you didn't want to call, even if we don't want to just consider the feminist element there, it's wrong for anybody to believe that Brazilian women are just pushovers. If it's particularly, you don't know anything about them. True, you have a lot of traditional women still in Brazil, but in the same way that the environment, the attitude of women these days has changed in the United States, it's changed in Brazil as well. So I'm saying, where you can say, like, yeah, there are some Black men going on in Brazil on sexual tourism, you cannot say that all Brazilian women are pushovers. That's where African American women are wrong about this when they're speaking on women that they don't know anything about. You're basing this on just, the stereotype about the Latino woman, which is not necessarily right. But then I have a problem also with what's going on with Black women feminists in Brazil, because my question is the following. A lot of feminists are of the ideology that women should have sexual liberty as men do. They should be able to have as many sexual partners as they want to have without being taxed as being, what they call in Brazil as putas, whores, right? So my question is, if you want that sexual liberty and you feel like women should be able to have that liberty, then what is the complaint about sexual tourism? You can't, on the one hand, say women should have sexual liberty and then complain if men are coming down to Brazil to partake in sexual tourism, whether they're paying for sex or they are not. I'm saying, to me, you're trying to play both sides of the fence. It's true, Brazil is a sexual tourism destination. But like I said, the problem with that is you can't play both sides of that fence. There are women all over social networks, Brazilian women, who are making it very clear that they are participating in a lot of casual sex and sex for pay. There's no way to deny that. If you've seen enough of the videos, you can just look at them on TikTok, you can look at them on Instagram. So where does feminism stand on that? Because what I'm saying is, I saw an article from a Brazilian feminist a couple weeks ago where she was saying it was something to the degree of the traditional family is oppressive. Then you have the element of funk culture, which people defend in Brazil on the left. Now, people on the conservative side of Brazil have decried funk culture and music as trash. And when you look at the funk that's going on there, when you listen to some of the lyrics, I'm saying, how can we decry sexual tourism on the one hand and the image of Brazilian women, but then at the same time, you're going to protect funk culture and funk music when you see women, Brazilian women, doing all these types of twerking type dance moves online? And the lyrics that they make, they're just as foul as any lyric by any American or Brazilian rapper talking about sex. So the way I see this, from what I've seen, it looks like Auston Holleman has been completely canceled, it looks like. If I'm not mistaken, he shut down his Instagram profile. I think that his Twitter profile has been shut down. It's been blocked. From what I saw recently, they were saying these groups were just like, look, yeah, now let's go after his YouTube channel. So I don't know where that dude is. I don't know if that was his only source of income, because he had just dropped everything and moved to Brazil, which I would not have recommended that. I had traveled to Brazil 12 years before I decided to move there. So this is a huge mess right now. And what I'm saying is that being stuck between this is like a triangle right here. And I see that all parties have things that are true and they got things that's just completely wrong. There are contradictions in both sides. So I don't really know what's going to come out of this whole thing. I'm keeping my eye out on it. But this is one of the main reasons why I started making videos talking about not only, I have posts on my blog where Brazilian women have been saying, no, don't come down here. Our bodies are not for sale. This was particularly clear during the 2014 World Cup that was hosted in Brazil. There's articles where people are asking a question, why do foreign men have this image of Brazilian women? And we should actually know that reason, because there is an element of Brazilian women who participate in this type of sexual imagery. We can't deny that. All I'm saying is, all the way around, this is just a messed up situation. I'm seeing every side has rights and wrong. I'm wondering, what's going to come out with this Auston Holleman guy. I wish I could have, reached out to him before he started making these videos, because the way I see it, whether he's involved in sexual tourism or he is not, the way that he was making his videos and the comments that he was making made it seem like he was promoting sexual tourism. There was one of his videos that I saw that was entitled, "Are Brazilian Women Easy?" That's not a good look. When you're online and you're asking women, what type of man do you like? How big does his junk got to be? When you ask questions like that, whether you're into sexual tourism or you're not, you open yourself up for the accusation. And so that's what I'm seeing that's going on online right now. And this is why I say, when I look at what's going on with Passport Bros, it's really easy for the accusations to become the belief that most people have about Passport Bros, whether it's true or not. And this is what we're seeing with what's going on with Auston Holleman right now. If I could have pulled the brother to the side, I would have told him, like, dude, this is not necessarily the way that you want to go, because the comments that you're making can be construed as supporting and participating in sexual tourism. And I'm going to say once again, because I know people are going to come at me, be like, oh, you're supporting Auston Holleman. I am not supporting Auston Holleman. I don't even know the guy. I haven't even watched many of his videos. I've watched a couple of clips, a couple of shorts. I've seen his videos featured in other people's videos. So I can't say I don't know Auston Holleman personally. I haven't watched enough of his videos to say that I support his videos. So you cannot accuse me of defending Auston Holleman when that's not what I'm doing. All I'm saying is that every party involved in this thing, there's problems with everybody's arguments. And this is a warning to Passport Bros. When I was making videos and I says, look, Brazilian women, there's a whole element down there, particularly coming out of feminism, that rejects foreign men coming to Brazil and exploiting Brazilian women. On the other hand, I say to the feminist, if there are Brazilian women who freely lay down with foreigners who come into the country, whether it's for pay or it is not, if you're going to argue for free sexual liberation for women, then you shouldn't have a problem with sexual tourism, whether the men are paying for sex or they're not paying for sex. I don't see how you can argue against sexual tourism when you also arguing for sexual liberation. That's the question that I would have for anybody in the feminist movement. I see that every side in this whole thing, African-American women, African-American men traveling to Brazil, and Black Brazilian feminists and feminism in general, all of these contradictions are going around here. So I'm just curious to know how people would respond to some of my questions. I don't know what's going to happen with Auston Holleman. From what I hear, they've reached out to lawyers. They're asking more Brazilian women to come forward and asking if he's made videos of them against their, without getting their permission to post the videos. If he's asking them questions that make it look like he's in support of sexual tourism. This could get pretty ugly. And all I'm saying is that I would not have went about making the videos the way that he did. I thought he was making a mistake. I thought he made a mistake by just jumping and moving to Brazil after, I don't know how many times he had visited there. But as I said, I traveled to Brazil back and forth for 12 years before I moved there. So I had a pretty firm grip. I was in a family environment. I got to see just everyday people all the time, talking to all types of women and men, getting the perspective of what it is to be Brazilian. It was a great cultural exchange. But this is, I reiterate again, I think it was a mistake for him to make these type of videos, because if you read some of the material that I've put on the blog about sexual tourism, about the image of Brazilian women, about the rise of feminism, particularly among Black women in Brazil, you would know that those type of videos wouldn't go over too well with a lot of the women in Brazil. So I don't know what's going to happen with this Austin Holleman guy, but I just wanted to leave my 2 cents on this whole thing.